I was paying my parents $700 a week, but they skipped my child's birthday party. When I asked why, my dad said, "Your kid isn't real to us." I stayed silent, shaking, and cut them off. 40 minutes later, karma hit them. They had the audacity to send a happy birthday text to my daughter. Just a text, no call, no visit, no card, no gift, not even a video message. And this was after I'd sent them $700 that same Monday. Like I had every week for the past 8 months. It was almost funny if it hadn't been so disgusting. My parents, who hadn't worked a single day in over a year, had no problem blowing money on random stuff from Amazon or spending full weekends at the casino. But somehow they couldn't drive 20 minutes to see their only granddaughter on her birthday. I didn't expect much. I really didn't. I knew things had shifted between us since Ava was born. My dad barely looked at her when I first brought her home. My mom acted like she was doing me a favor just by holding her. They never bonded with her. Not even when I begged them to babysit for a few hours so I could sleep. They always had an excuse. But over time, the excuses got sharper, crueler. When Ava turned 3, my mom said she looked too much like her dad. And since he left before she was even born, that made Ava difficult to love. I almost dropped the phone when she said that. I should have cut them off right then, but I didn't. I thought maybe it's just bitterness. Maybe they're grieving the life they thought I'd have. Maybe if I keep being there for them, they'll come around. So, I paid their bills. I ordered groceries for them every Sunday. I sent cash whenever they asked for it, and usually even when they didn't. When they couldn't make rent, I covered it. When they lost their car insurance, I got them back on a policy under my name. I even gave up my own plans to move to a better place for Ava, just to make sure they had enough. And all I ever asked was for them to be part of her life, even just a little. Ava turned 6 last Saturday. She wore a sparkly pink dress and danced around the backyard like she was on a stage. We had cupcakes, lemonade, and mason jars and cheap decorations that made it look like something out of Pinterest. Her little friends came with presents wrapped in shiny paper, and one of their moms even stayed to help me set up, but the whole time Ava kept glancing at the gate. Every 10 minutes, she asked if Nana and Grandpa were coming. I told her, maybe. I told her, we'll see. And I hated myself for saying it because I already knew the answer. They never came. That night after I put Ava to bed and washed icing out of her hair, I sat on the couch and stared at my phone. I scrolled up through the messages. My mom had texted that morning. "Tell Ava happy birthday from us." Nothing more. I called. I didn't think it through. I just needed to hear them say it to hear what their excuse was this time. My dad picked up. He sounded annoyed. I asked why they didn't come. That was it. No yelling, just that. And he said, "Your child doesn't exist for us." I froze. I don't know what I thought he'd say, but it wasn't that. There was a pause. Then he hung up. I stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't cry. I didn't call back. I just went to my bank app, opened up the scheduled payments, and deleted every single one. Then I sat back down, still shaking a little, and let it sink in. 40 minutes later, I got a text from my mom. "Can you order us dinner? Nothing fancy, just Chinese or something. There's no food in the house." I didn't respond. 2 days later, something strange happened. My mom called not to apologize, but to ask where the money was. I told her it was over. No more support, no more anything. She didn't believe me at first. She laughed, said I'd come crawling back like always. But that's where she was wrong. What they didn't know, what they couldn't have seen coming was that this time, they weren't just losing their free ride. They were about to lose a whole lot more. By Wednesday morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail, then played it while making Ava's lunch. It was their landlord, not mine. Theirs. He was polite, even a little nervous. Said rent hadn't arrived yet, and he was just checking in because I'd always been reliable. That phrase stopped me cold. I'd become their reliable tenant, covering bills for a place I didn't even live in. I called him back, told him I wouldn't be making any more payments, and that anything going forward would have to come directly from my parents. He was quiet for a second, like he just realized something that made him uncomfortable. Then he thanked me and hung up. That night, I got a text from my mom. No greeting, no question, just, "So, you're seriously leaving us with nothing? Are you proud of yourself?" I stared at it for a long time. Then, I blocked her number. I didn't need another guilt trip disguised as a conversation. Not this time, but they didn't stop. The next morning, I woke up to a message on Facebook from my mom's old account that I forgot I hadn't unfriended. The message was longer, rambling. You could tell they'd both written it. They accused me of turning my back on family. Said Ava was a consequence, not a child. They claimed they never agreed to be part of that situation. Like it was a business deal gone wrong. That's when something inside me really snapped. Not from anger, from disgust. I called my brother that afternoon. Ryan's 5 years older than me, lives in Colorado with his wife. We talk occasionally, but usually just updates, holiday check-ins, that kind of thing. So, I knew I could trust him. I told him what happened from the birthday no-show to the phone call to the text messages. I didn't leave anything out. He was quiet at first. Then he just said it's about time someone held them accountable. I was halfway through asking what he meant when he told me the rest that he'd been sending them money too. Not as much, but enough to help them with their cell phone bill, groceries, car stuff. I had no idea. He said he never told me because he didn't want to make it seem like he didn't trust me to handle it. Truth was, he thought maybe if both of us kept supporting them, they'd eventually soften, open their hearts to Ava. He said it was clear now they never would. The next morning, my mom called again, this time from a different number. I answered. He was crying, furious, frantic. Said Ryan called them. Said he told them they were on their own now, that he was done, that their behavior toward Ava was disgusting, and he wouldn't allow it anymore. She screamed at me, accusing me of turning Ryan against them, wrecking the family, and being ungrateful and heartless. I hung up without a word. What she didn't know was that Ryan had already reached out to others, our aunt, cousins, even mom's weekend gossip buddy. He shared everything, screenshots, explanations, how our parents refused to acknowledge a 6-year-old girl just because her dad left before she was born, as if that made her less human. The fallout began quietly. A few relatives stopped answering their calls. Then a passive-aggressive comment appeared under one of mom's Facebook photos. Soon, Ava's birthday pictures were flooded with supportive comments from people who hadn't engaged in years. They were losing their grip on the narrative, and they felt it. The calls to Ryan became relentless. When he didn't pick up, they showed up uninvited at his in-laws' house, 3 states away. His wife sent me a Ring camera photo. Our parents on the porch, looking like they hadn't slept in days. That's when I realized they weren't just humiliated, they were unraveling. But none of us, not even Ryan, saw what was coming next. Something so petty, so public, it would lay bare everything they tried to hide, with no way to spin it. By the next week, it was eerily quiet. No texts, no calls from unknown numbers, no manipulative Facebook messages from fake accounts. For the first time in months, I wasn't waking up to guilt-tripping voicemails or emotional blackmail. I thought maybe they'd finally gotten it, realized they'd burned their last bridge. I was wrong. Thursday morning, my cousin Natalie messaged me. "Scarlett, have you seen the video?" I hadn't. I'd all but abandoned Facebook, but I opened it immediately. My feed was dominated by it. My parents had gone live on their page the night before, a 26-minute rant titled, "The Truth About Our Daughter and the Lies That Tore Our Family Apart." I stared at it for a full minute before hitting play. I regret it. Mom sat on the couch's edge, sobbing into a crumpled tissue, disheveled but calculated. Dad sat beside her, arms crossed, ready for battle. They weren't broken or remorseful, they were furious. Mom started, claiming I'd manipulated them for years, using my daughter to control the family story. She said I forced them to take my money, accept gifts, and begged to stay in my life, threatening to cut them off if they didn't play along with my single mom pity act. Then Dad held up a photo of Ava at her birthday, sparkler candle glowing on her cake, and said, "This child isn't our family. She doesn't exist to us." I felt sick. They went further. Dad said Ryan was brainwashed by his cold, selfish wife. Mom implied Ava might not even be my ex's, suggesting I trapped him for sympathy. It was like seeing strangers unmask themselves after a lifetime of pretense. Over 400 people watched it live. By morning, it had been shared dozens of times. Some of their old church friends bought the lies, but most comments called them unhinged, urging them to get help. A few tagged me, asking if I was okay. Ryan saw it too. He didn't call, just texted a screenshot. They went nuclear. Neither of us posted a response. There was no need to justify Ava's existence or beg for validation. The consequences hit fast. Their landlord emailed me, formal and curt. Someone had sent him the video, and he found it disturbing enough to terminate their lease. 30 days to vacate. No discussion. Then the pharmacy called. They'd listed me as their emergency contact last year and never updated it. The pharmacist said Mom tried filling a painkiller prescription, but when her card was declined, she lost it, yelling, threatening staff, accusing them of discrimination. Someone recorded it. By that night, the clip was on a local gossip page. Walgreens meltdown. Woman screams over rejected prescription. Commenters identified her, linked the Facebook rant, and noted their names on a church volunteer site. By morning, they were erased from the site entirely. I didn't laugh or cry. It wasn't revenge. It was like watching a slow-motion implosion of people with no audience left to perform for. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. My uncle, Dad's older brother, hosted a family reunion the following weekend. Ryan and I weren't invited. No surprise, we hadn't spoken to that side in years. But our parents showed up, desperate to salvage their image. That's when it all blew up. Someone there had seen everything and wasn't letting it slide. I learned about the reunion like most of the family did, through Facebook photos. Group shots of cousins in matching shirts, folding chairs under a canopy, a bounce house for the kids, cupcakes with our last name and frosting. It felt like peering into a life I'd been erased from. But not everyone had forgotten us. Ryan called Sunday night, barely holding back a laugh. Not amusement, but shock and secondhand embarrassment. Our parents had arrived late, dramatic. Mom wore a black blouse like she was attending a funeral. Dad was stiff, overdressed, like he expected a stage. According to Ryan's cousin, they walked in playing victims. Mom didn't wait for questions. She launched into a tirade about how their children betrayed them, abandoned them, and how they weren't even invited to their granddaughter's birthday, as if she hadn't looked me in the eye, or as close as you can over a phone, and said Ava didn't exist to her. My parents spoke bitterly about betrayal and ungrateful kids at a family reunion, but my cousin Lauren, 24, bold and unfiltered, called them out. She'd seen their Facebook Live video where my dad denied my daughter Ava's existence, saying, "This child is not our family," and my mom called her a consequence. Lauren played the video on a speaker for everyone to hear. The room froze, someone's kid cried, a cousin walked out, no one defended them. Uncle James stood up and told them, "If that's how you treat your granddaughter, you don't belong here." They left humiliated. The confrontation was recorded and spread through family group chats. My parents' friends saw it. Their church dropped them from volunteering, and my mom's knitting group asked her to step back. They deleted their Facebook accounts, but the damage was done. Then Aunt Virginia, my grandmother's 78-year-old sister, wrote a letter to the family, quoting their cruel words and stating, "You are no longer part of this family because you disowned a child." It spread fast, and they were cut off from group chats, unfriended, and even their church distanced them. I took legal steps to protect Ava. With my lawyer, I filed a no-contact order to block my parents from any access, school, medical, or legal. I added a clause to my will ensuring guardianship to my brother Ryan if anything happened to me. A cease and desist letter was sent. Do not contact me or my daughter. This is protection, not punishment. They didn't respond. The silence was new. No more manipulative texts or calls. Ava started smiling more, her real smiles, baking cookies with me, calling Ryan her bonus dad. At a small family lunch hosted by Aunt Virginia, we reclaimed our space. Ava gave her a drawing that said, "Thank you for seeing me." Lauren whispered, "They'd hate this." I replied, "Good. That's how it should be." They chose pride over love, so I wrote them out of our lives, legally, emotionally, permanently. Their world shrank as family and friends quietly cut ties. The real victory wasn't revenge, it was our peaceful life without them.